So I believe there was a interesting discussion before this, but I just wanted to start off with a couple of questions. Since everybody discussed on post-lunch sessions, so I thought, can I ask you a couple of questions? So when, as an MFD, when you are building your business, what is it that is important to you? Do you focus on increasing your AUM? Yes? No? Yes? Also, do you focus on giving the best performing fund to your clients? Yes? And how many of you think it is the same thing? Can we have a show of hands? Same thing? Okay, so let's delve a little deeper into the subject. This is a data which is actually about where does the investments of Indian investors, where does their money lie? So if you see at the allocation which is there, equity actually even now has about just a 10% allocation. But if we look at the allocation of our industry in terms of the asset allocation of the MFDs currently, what we see is that the alignment towards equity is still very, very large, right? Equity is 68% of the allocations at this point in time. If we further break this down, it actually shows that AUM below 100 crores has a much higher allocation, which is about 73%. If we look at AUM between 100 to 500 crores, it is around 67%. And if you look at AUM above 500 crores, it is about 58%. So what it shows is that as the AUM increases, the asset allocation actually becomes better. Or is it that when the asset allocation becomes better, the AUM growth is faster? So this just shows the importance of asset allocation, especially in today's day and age when equity is looking extremely attractive from the last couple of years. Of course, some correction right now, but there's been a lot of chasing that's happened in that space, right? So two things are happening in the underlying market. One is that we are seeing as an economy an accelerated growth in the GDP numbers. But if we look at in perspective of global GDP, just look at this number that when global GDP numbers are showing a growth, which is from 2.8 to 3%, the contribution of India has significantly gone up. If we see there's been a significant slowdown actually, there's a slowdown in China, there's a slowdown in Japan, there's a slowdown in even US. So actually if we see the contribution of India has been going up structurally, right? So which is why we are becoming more relevant. But in that backdrop, when we look at the income structure which has been changing for us as an economy, what is relevant for us? We feel there is a segment of people in this the struggler category, what we've put here, which is basically growing, but growing a little slower. This is probably people who have the Jan Dhan accounts, people who may not have too much money in terms of disposable income. If we look at one level higher, which is also growing slightly faster, is the segment where a lot of new investors have been coming into the market. These are people who may be coming in through the digital medium, or DIY investors, what we call. But what we have seen over a period that once the DIY investor has enough money, which they do not want to lose anymore, they actually then move towards the higher segment, the aspirers or the affluents, which are actually growing quite fast. And this may be a very attractive segment to see for all of you as distributors. So while the elite segment is being catered to by a lot of different segments, bankers, private bankers, wealth, people, everybody's going to those guys. But when we look at the belly of the pyramid, this is probably an attractive segment to look at. Now, finally, it is a business of compounding. So when we look at, we've taken an example to show you this, that we've taken two case studies where one person has started his business in 2001, MFD has started his business in 2008. There is another person who was a chartered accountant who was practicing, but he started his mutual fund business 10 years later. Now what happened is, that if you look at the first case, he started in 2008 and he was investing amount of 50,000, but after the first year, he started investing about 50,000 every 6 months. And the second case, he started in 2018 with a higher amount of 2 lakh and additional amount of 1 lakh after that. But if we see the growth in AUM, for the first case, who started early with a smaller amount, is much higher, which accumulates to about 23 crores, whereas the other case, which is a larger amount invested, but 10 years later, has accumulated somewhere around 3.3 crores. But what is important here is possibly the brokerage growth also, which has happened along with the AUM growth in this same period. So in fact, the example which we've taken a hybrid fund. We've not even taken an equity fund, we've taken a hybrid fund, the index itself. If you see, basically the takeaways is that time is important for compounding. Is it? Time is the biggest variable. The second thing is that if you can not just worry about the redemption, but focus more on new money coming in, maybe something which you really want to look at. A lot of times, it may be a great idea to say okay to an investor when he comes to you for redemption, when they require the funds. It would be a good idea to let them go, but maybe you can look at getting additional incremental money from somewhere else. So focusing on getting additional money. Now we looked at the journey of MFDs in the last 15, 16 years or so. So if you look at this journey, there were multiple situations that happened in terms of different incidents in the market, different regulatory changes, a lot of volatility in the market. But the good part is that the industry has been growing quite significantly in this period. But more important part is that the contribution, the participation of the MFD segment, which in 2013-14 was at about a 16%, has gone up to 25%. So a big kudos to all of you for your commitment, for your, how you have been supporting the journey of investors through this entire period. Now, my presentation is actually about the science and the art of AUM creation. So coming to that what role does the scheme selection play in this? If you look at this chart, here we have two examples. We have a Fund A and Fund B. Fund A is a fund which is in orange, B is in blue. Both of them are large and mid-cap fund category products and actual returns of those funds. If you look at the growth from 2010 to 2023, the performance of the scheme is what is playing out in terms of the returns that you see. But what we are trying to show you is that both of them, the investment was of 50,000 in both the schemes in this entire period. But the brokerage which was being received in Fund A, which is the orange one, was higher, which was 1%. In Fund B, was actually 80 bips, which was lower. But because of the performance of Fund A being lesser than the performance of Fund B, the consequent brokerage that you made, which is the blue line for Fund B, was much higher in spite of the 80 bips brokerage, which is lower than the 1%. This is a very important thing to be noted. A lot of times, the focus is possibly not on the correct scheme selection. A lot of times the focus is on the enhanced brokerage which has been offered in a particular scheme. So we feel that scheme selection is more important than brokerage selection. Of course, the wrong fund will impact your long-term compounding of not just your AUM, but also of the brokerage that you will make over this period, so which is the income that you will end up making. Now, when we look at the future, important thing is we are a young country, while GDP growth, etc., is happening, but the fact is we are a younger country, which is a bigger variable, so our demography is changing very differently. The economic status is much better, therefore, the risk-taking ability is different. Hence, the products have to be changing, and the product game may become very different from here on. if you look at how we look at the market evolving in terms of products, we feel that there will be a segment of clients who will only look at benchmark investing, which is possibly plain vanilla passive funds, which people will be looking at, just participation in the market. There will be another segment of clients who may look at rule-based investing, what we call in today's day and age smart beta investing, that there is a rule-based investing that happens. It could be in active, it could be in passive. And there is, of course, the expertise of the fund manager also, which is somewhere in between. Above all of this could be human expertise, could also be powered by AI. So this is how the evolution is probably happening. So we feel when you look at products here, we are at this point here in terms of the risk return, the existing products. But as we go ahead in the future, we will possibly be somewhere here in terms of risk return profiles of the products which are evolving for the future. So you would be knowing that most of your younger people who are probably people in the family who you've been seeing who have a completely different risk appetite. You would agree to that, right? A lot of people are actually not how we, in our generation, probably have thought of more of, things which are, like having a house or a car or whatever. These are things which are not in the mind of youngsters. Kids are today not thinking like that because basic necessities have already been taken care of. Now, another important thought is that Mr. Jagdishwan before me, he was actually mentioning about the fact that 12% return is the ideal return which you talk about to your clients probably over a longer period, right? So when you talk about that, when we talk about the rule of 72, all of you would be familiar with the rule of 72. What that rule of 72 says that 12% return, which means you will double your money in 6 years. But if you end up giving funds which have a probability of giving 12% returns over a period, but you also have your clients committed to give you additional 12%, you may be able to double the money of the client as well as double your AUM in a period of 3 years rather than 6 years. So it is not just about offering great products to the clients, but it's also taking enhanced commitment because it's a partnership between the AMC, the investor, as well as the distributor. Now, this is just a takeaway of what we just spoke. Now, this is, again, a very important thought that, a lot of times when you're starting off with your business or when you have started building your business and you are at a phase where you are looking at an inflection point of your business, it's also very, very important to think of why you are in this business. So there is a book called Start With Why, which is by Simon Sinek. A lot of you might have read it. I thought one example mentioned there about Apple was very interesting. It said that, why Apple stood out in its market. In fact, when they mentioned on numbers that, when Apple started off in the first year, they did $1 million of sales. In the second year, they did $10 million of sales. In the fourth year, they did $100 million of sales. And by sixth year, they were a $1 billion company. So what did they do differently? They said that the way they projected their advertising was completely different from other product makers. At that time, they were only a computer maker. So what did they say? They said that we want to challenge the status quo by doing things differently. How we do things differently is design beautiful products. We make it easy to use. And by the way, we also make great computers. And this absolutely stood out from other products which were advertising very differently from a point of view of great features, great things to buy, and things like that. So it is very important to look at what could be the vision that could really work for you. It is a long-term vision which is actually going to define your business over a long-term period. One very important thing is to probably be able to differentiate between your clients and your customers. Your customers could come and go, would transact with you, but maybe the business that they bring to you could be limited, and therefore your income could also be limited. But a client not just invests in products that you tell them, but they also invest in you as an advisor, you as the business itself. So which is where the enhanced business and the enhanced income over a longer period. One last thought is probably on the fact that, when you build AUM over a longer period, one of the most important things to see is probably that you need stability of your AUM. It is important that you have a strong SIP book. It is important that you have a broad-based investor book also with you. But core funds need to be consistent funds and not volatile funds. And that is what will actually reduce the standard deviation of not just your AUM, but also of your business income. The last point being that compliance, of course, we keep discussing about a lot of regulatory changes that keep coming, but important to look at it that this is a fiduciary responsibility and very important to evolve quickly to be the thought leader who actually conveys these things to the clients rather than getting bogged down by them. So we think looking at the future is very important for you when you're building a long-term AUM book. So we think a good footballer is where the ball is, but a great footballer is where the ball will be. So that's all from my side. Thank you so much for the patient hearing.